Are we drowning our autonomy in good intentions? A short answer is yes. And in this session, I will share with you what we can do about it. So, first of all, let me take you back in time to the year 2019. Do you remember 2019? COVID didn't exist. The word pandemic hasn't entered our minds and our vocabularies just yet. And the economy? The economy is doing great. Agile is doing great. People like us, I mean, let's face it, we could basically get any job we wanted. Agile, totally taking off and winning. Every man and his dog wanted to be agile. Whether it's small startups or big corporations, everyone wanted to be agile. It was great times. And then, boom, 2020 happened and COVID happened. And it seems, and it is, a long time ago. I mean, it's 5 years. But a lot of things have happened in the world since then. And I think a change in trajectory happened around that time. And we can trace it back to those times in 2020. So 2020 with its lockdowns and its speeding up of having to change our ways of working, all of us being thrown into remote work, trying to figure out technology. And we've come a long way since then. But the world of work has absolutely changed. And that point in time, I think, was the beginning in a change of direction, and not for good. Because since then, things have actually gotten worse. If you look at the world, there are climate events, there are fires, there's a war going on in Europe. There is global political uncertainty. There have been layoffs, even in technology. And Agile is getting a really bad rap. And AI is changing our world in ways that we don't even understand just yet. And I don't know about you, but for me, I definitely have less work in 2024, 2025 than I had before 2020. So something has happened in the world, but also something has happened in our world of work. And I think we have lost our autonomy and agency, and it's a direction that I don't particularly like. And in this session, I'm going to talk to you about why I think this is happening, why it matters, and what we can do about it. And at the end, I will both ask you a favor and also give you 3 concepts to take away and act on. So since 2020, I have been talking to leaders. I've been talking to leaders because I think there has been a lot of focus on our employees. And that's a good thing. We have done a lot of research about how employees feel. We have had a lot of experience reports. We have done a lot of interviews with people who are employees about how they feel and what is happening for them. And I think that's a really good thing. But it's imbalanced. I think we haven't really focused on how leaders view the world of work at the moment and have been doing for the last 5 years. So what I was trying to do was getting a more balanced perspectives. And in order to do that, I have interviewed leaders from all over the world, about 20 leaders. And I talked to people in the US, Australia, New Zealand, and in Europe. And I interviewed people who were both in the private industry and public servants, people on a CEO level, on a product management level, on some people who are like the New Zealand Retirement Commissioner, people in relatively high leadership positions. And I asked them how they had seen the world of work change in the last 5 years. And there's one thing they all told me, like every single leader told me, their observation is that people are fragile, they're fearful, and they're more self-absorbed than ever. It's a fascinating observation. And I looked into data if it's just the leaders I interviewed or if there's actually data to back this up. And yes, I did find data to back this up. First of all, Australia and New Zealand, which is obviously at the centre of the world. So Australia and New Zealand, 2019, relatively low, and then anxiety and depression goes up around COVID, then dips down, and now 2024 has gone up to the same levels as COVID levels and is trending upwards. Same is happening in the US. A spike around COVID, a dip going a bit back, and then going up again. European Union, same thing. This is mood disorders and alcohol substance disorders. The trend is going upwards. And I know I'm comparing a little bit of apples and oranges here, but it's really hard to find the same data across the world. But what we see, however you measure it, whether it's anxiety or mood disorders or depression, the trends are showing the same thing. Anxiety, depression, mood disorders are trending upwards. So stats and data show that leaders are right. People do show that they are anxious and are fragile and are struggling with life. And what happens, and it might actually not be you. It might not be you. You might be perfectly happy and not feel like this at all. But I can guarantee you, and the stats show, that people around you might be feeling like this. And what's happening when people feel anxious and struggle with life? Well, they're definitely not in a headspace to think. They can't be creative. They can't make good decisions. They want to play it safe. They don't have the mental energy. So they just sit back and just, hey, tell me what to do. I can't deal with thinking right now. Just tell me what you want me to do. And that's also something a lot of leaders have talked to me about and have taught me. They see people just asking to be taught what to do. And they say that learned helplessness is going through the roof. The leaders, a partner in a law firm, call it learned helplessness. I will go even further and call it a demanding helplessness. Because it's people who are sitting back, because they're so anxious, they're sitting back, waiting to be told what to do and demanding that their problems are being solved by their leaders. And I think we often forget that this is a two-way street. That if we want to have a good relationship with our employers and our leaders, we need to address the balance in this relationship. And I'm an agile coach. I get around and I see this all the time. I see it in agile teams. People just sitting there in sprint planning meetings waiting to be spoon-fed tickets. Just tell me what to do, and I'm just going to work on a ticket, but I can't work on this ticket because there's not all the information that's there. So basically, I want cut up requirement specifications, and I just need every little detail specified. Basically, tell me what to do. Those are the lukewarm, unengaged, factory type agile teams. They just want to be given stuff to do. Just being told by a product owner what to work on next, without having an opinion. And the worst is when I go to stand-ups and I see teams going like, what are you working on? Well, today I'm working on ticket 1489. We're not working on tickets. We're solving customer problems. We're doing something for someone. But people are just sitting back, waiting to take a ticket, being told by someone what to do. And I see Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, and they're just venting and complaining about management not getting it. Leaders don't understand it. Pointing out dysfunction, knowing about dysfunction, just venting instead, actually trying to do something about it. And I see it in an organizational level, where organizations want to have full templates like SAFe and Scrum and scaling frameworks, so they don't have to think, because thinking is hard. You might say, well, why is this a problem in the first place? I just show up to work and I sit back, someone tells me what to do, I do it well, we'll be fine. Problem is, you won't be fine. We won't be fine. First of all, we lose innovation. People who are fearful are clearly not thinking as broadly as they should. Creativity, it just drops. Innovation drops, and that's bad for us and it's bad for organizations. And you might think, this is not you. This is something a product manager taught me. It's remarkable the extent to which many people will go to in order to avoid thinking. And that's what what many of us do when we are preoccupied with anxiety. They use artificial intelligence. They ask ChatGPT or Copilot and just accept any response to a prompt without thinking about it, just accepting it blindly without asking, well, is it correct? Is it true? Does it make sense? Is it even relevant? And there's an interesting piece of research I found by two guys, Jeremy Utley and Kian Goha from IDEO, who tried out what would happen if you give people AI to support idea generation, brainstorm to go wide and have wild ideas, many diverse different ideas. Two groups. And the group who had AI to support them produced way fewer, way more mediocre ideas. And the reason was not that AI is bad. It's not. It is that people stop thinking. They even call it resting AI face. People stop talking to each other. People just stare at the screen, ask AI to do the thinking for them, and the result was mediocre ideas. What they missed was people sparking off each other's ideas and being creative, and the whole back and forth of being innovative. So not thinking, for whatever reason, whether we're outsourcing it to AI or just waiting to be taught what to do by a boss, a leader, or AI, is something that benefits none of us. It also makes us deeply unhappy because we know what motivates people. We know we're motivated by autonomy, by mastery, and by purpose. And we know this because Daniel Pink told us in his research. And there is a link between learned helplessness and anxiety and depression. So learned helplessness, a loss of autonomy, is directly correlated to anxiety and depression. It makes us unhappy. And what's worse, it's actually really contagious. It has this ripple effect and it permeates all whole organizations. It becomes cultural. And some leaders I talked to also said, well, people wanting to be taught what to do, we're being pushed into leading by command and control. Because people don't make decisions. People just want to play it safe and not think. So they just wait. And leaders are being forced to lead in a way they don't actually want to lead. So what do we need to do? In the last few years, we've come to a place where there's more learned helplessness, more mental health issues, less autonomy, and less creativity and innovation. What do we need to do? We need to do something. And some companies have actually started doing something. So they have started dealing with that fear. The last 5 years have seen a huge focus on wellness and on mental health, and organizations are doing something. By the way, thank you very much. I think this is really, really good and well-intentioned. Organizations give us wellness days, mental health days, and I think this is really helpful. But I also think that we have gone too far because the stats show that it is not really solving the problem. I think the balance has tipped a bit too much and we have started to hurt ourselves. Take mental health days. There is a New Zealand agency I used to work with. It's a great company, like really, really great culture. And they allowed people to take mental health days whenever they needed that. And while it is good sometimes to have a mental health day, what I observed was coming to work, logging online, and Slack would just go crazy, going, mental health day, mental health day, mental health day, mental health day. I'm taking a mental health day. So people were taking lots and lots of mental health days. And it did two things. One is whenever someone takes a mental health day, they leave their colleagues to pick up the slack. So it creates more work for other people. But it also does something bad to them. If people take a mental health day and pull back at the first sign of stress, it does a disservice to them. It stops them from developing resilience. It stops them from developing coping mechanisms. A New Zealand CEO summed it up really nicely. It's one of my favorite quotes. The workplace is being considered as the 1950s husband would have been, there to cater to all our needs: emotional security and economic security, protection and freedom from being challenged. It's this whole movement of bringing our whole selves to work and a misunderstanding of psychological safety. We're not going to work to look for friendship, to look for our social lives to be there. And our one-on-ones with our leaders, they have become a bit like therapy sessions. We expect to go there and be there for an hour and vent. And many people just see any challenge as a threat. So I think we have started to have a culture of entitlement, and we have started to create a dependency. People have started to act a bit like the 1950s housewives, expecting to be taught what to do and expecting leaders to provide solutions. And at this stage, I actually want to say sorry to the generation who were the 1950s housewives and husbands, because they didn't have a choice. We do. We do have a choice, and for the last 20 years, we have been telling everyone, we are knowledge workers, don't micromanage us. We need to be creative, stay out of it. Project managers, go away, don't micromanage. So this lack or decrease in autonomy and agency, I think, is a major threat to the ways of working we have been fighting so hard to get. So let's do something about it. Let's take back our autonomy. And here are 3 challenges that I want to put out there so you can help taking that back. And the first one is train your resilience muscle. What's resilience? Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity. When bad stuff happens, bounce back stronger and better. And let's face it, we're all facing adversity at some point. It can be external, like the job market, agile is in a crisis, AI. It can also be internal, when we try something and we fail, when we stuff up. Bad stuff happens. We're all facing adversity. And the most important thing is that we learn how to develop resilience. And like a muscle, it's something that can be trained, something that can be developed and strengthened over time. My first career was in professional sports. And since then, I have a keen interest and a strong affinity to sports, and I've learned a lot from the world of sports. So I'd like to dig deeper into the world of sports. One of my favorite things to watch at the 2024 Olympics was women's gymnastics. This is what I call the podium of resilience. 3 gymnasts that personify the ability to adapt and change and win. What we've got here is a gold medal winner, Simone Biles, who overcame the twisters and mental health issues to win the gold medal. We got Rebecca Andrade from Brazil, silver medal, who did not just overcome 1 or 2, but 3 ACL tears in her career. And Sonny Lee with the bronze medal, who is recovering from kidney disease. If that isn't the face of overcoming adversity, I don't know what is. But it's not just gymnasts, and it's something that goes for all elite athletes. And I would say, actually, for all of us. And something that I really like is that increasingly psychologists have focused their research on elite athletes, to study elite athletes and make case studies so we can learn and draw general knowledge from how they do things and how we can apply them to our lives. Here's some research that I like. It's by Angela Duckworth. She's written a book called Grit. And her research shows that all elite athletes have faced adversity. May that be injury, not being picked for a team, not making a selection, failing your own expectations or others' expectations. They have all overcome those obstacles and built resilience. And her research shows that people, athletes, who haven't faced any adversity never develop the resilience to make elite level. But the ones that did make it, all consciously or subconsciously, used the same framework. And that's something that Matt Fitzgerald has published, has researched and published in a book, The Comeback Quotient. All elite athletes and everyone who's overcome adversity has done this in a 3-step process that I want to share with you because I found it extremely useful in my own life. The first step is acknowledge the situation as it is. Just accept reality. No denial, no pretending this is not happening. Just accept life just gave me lemons. And it allows me to perceive the situation the way it is and preserves the ability to make choices. Life just gave me lemons. The next step is to embrace reality. To wholeheartedly embrace the challenge and commit. That will be committing to make lemonade. It might be adjusting strategy or mindset or approach, but it's the commitment to do something. In this case, life gave you lemons, commit to making lemonades. And now, the third step, you actually got to do it. You actually have to make the lemonade. That's addressing reality. Taking proactive measures to deal with it. I use it in my own life currently. Am I worried about AI? Yep. There is a reality, which is that AI is going to have a huge impact on our jobs and our workplaces, even though we don't know exactly how just yet. Embracing reality. I commit to integrating it into my work and to keep an open mind and approach change with curiosity. And then addressing reality. I commit to use AI every day and learn as much as I possibly can. I recently was at an open space event with Agile coaches where people told me, well, Agile coaching is all about feeling, it's all about emotions, it's all about the face-to-face interactions, all about the human interactions. So AI will have zero influence on my job and I don't want to deal with it. And to be honest, I think this is just a problem in accepting reality. So my challenge to you is to accept reality, embrace reality, and address it. And do that in a way that you do one hard thing every day. Grow your resilience muscle every day a little bit. If you see tensions at work, stuff you don't like, things you shy away from, don't do that. Stare it in the face and go to work. It could be a lack of information, the waiting to be ready to do something. Why just go and find out the information yourself? Or maybe you don't have a skill, don't know how to do something. Organize your own training and development. Whatever it is, tackle the challenge heads on, heads on. I've just given you a framework for how to do that. My second challenge to you is reassess and recalibrate your relationships. When I say there's a lack of autonomy, that means there's imbalance in a relationship. There's something wrong, not with the people, but with the relationships. And I think we need to address this relationship imbalance. And I challenge you all, including myself, to assess every single of our relationships at work, one by one. Are those relationships equal? Is there autonomy? Or are we talking more about an adult-child relationship rather than adult to adult? And by the way, I'm not talking about abolishing formal hierarchy. There's nothing wrong with formal hierarchy. What I'm talking about is being equal in a relationship between two adults who can talk to each other like adults. So I think it is really important for us, if we want to have our autonomy back, to fix the relationship with our leaders and see each other as adults again. Going back to the world of sports, I talked to a gymnastics coach about the relationship between coaches and athletes. And taking this back to Paris and Simone Biles, we were talking about that coaching relationship, and the former elite gymnastic coach taught me about the trust, support, and collaboration to reclaim being the best in the world again. That bond from coach to athlete and from athlete to coach, and the space he gives her to rebuild is next level. This is a relationship between fully formed adults that is full of respect, accountability, and ownership, and open communication. And again, this is a relationship with fixed roles. You can say there is a formal imbalance. A coach calls the shots. But still, they have an equal relationship between adults. And that's the relationship, the type of relationship we want to have at work between us and our leaders. I'll give you a framework for how to assess our relationships. It's inspired and loosely based on the work of Robert Kelly's work on organizations and teams. And first of all, I know immediately some of you are going to think, oh my God, boxes. She's going to put people into boxes. I'm not. This is about relationships. I'm putting relationships into boxes. And I hope that's okay with you. So there are two axes, as you can see here, and one is around independent critical thinking, and the other one around engagement. What we want are the relationships of independent critical thinking that are with a high engagement, where people put forward their own views, where they can deal with conflict and with risk, and they can cope with change. They don't ask, what's the plan? They find out what the desired outcome is and how to contribute to it. They don't blame. They look at the problem and question how they can fix this, and then start doing this. And going back to what happens to our world of work, fixing those planning meetings, and I've seen like in our sprint planning meetings and quarterly planning meetings and so on, I challenge you, show up with an informed perspective and then challenge and listen and take ownership of the outcome. Don't just wait to be taught what to do. This is what, in a good relationship, both parts would do. And the problem is, I think, at the moment, we are very much in the area of dependent, uncritical thinking. Two types of relationships there. The conformist relationship is the yes people. They're being told, they want to be taught what to do, they are being taught what to do, and then they happily might be creative in the how, but they never question the what. And then there is the relationships that are dependent, uncritical thinking, and pretty disengaged. That will be passive relationships where people are being taught what to do and do exactly as they are being told. And just for completion, there's the independent critical thinking and highly engaged. They're often toxic, they're disgruntled, something has happened, and that's a different way of dealing with them and fixing that relationship. The relationships that I want to focus on here are the passive, the relationships where people are being taught what to do. And in order to move the passive relationships into conformist relationships to effective relationships, I think the first thing that needs to happen is to separate the role from the person. And I think we were so good at this. Like back in COVID times, when we started out, we were so good at it. We saw people as people. It didn't matter if it was our boss or someone in a leadership position. We saw their kids walk through the screen, and we listened to the dogs having a barking fit in the background. And it didn't matter. We were just good at seeing people as humans. And that has changed. Like, why did we change it? We have changed it. We now use technology to hide. We're blurring our backgrounds. We don't eat on screen. When we have a bad hair day, we don't want to be on camera. So I think we need to get that back and see people, as human beings, and then assess our relationships between human beings. And I've just given you a framework for how to do this, and I encourage you to use it to assess every single relationship that you have at work. And if it's not in the effective relationship quadrant, ask yourself, what do you need to do to change this? How have you contributed to this relationship? And what conversations need to happen in order to change it? And here's a third challenge, especially for all the leaders amongst us, whether those are formal leaders or informal leaders. Most people have informal leadership relations within their teams too. So formal and informal leaders, here's a message for all of you. Give people the space to be resilient. Give them the space to be effective players and develop their skills and train their resilience muscles. So often, because people are asking to be taught what to do, leaders do tell them what to do. So to all the leaders, stop taking care of everything. Stop telling people what to do and stop giving advice. Do you know the advice monster? It's a term Michael Bungay coined. The advice monster is this little monster that sits on our left shoulder. We all got it, by the way. It sits right there, and whenever someone tells us about a problem, it just pops up 2 sentences in and goes, I know what to do. That's not useful. What I want you to do, what we need to do, is every time it pops up, we just kill it. Kill the advice monster, and instead ask questions. Ask, what's the real challenge? Do you want advice? What else? What do you want me to do? And then, for God's sake, listen to the answer. So in conclusion, we are facing a new reality. It's a new reality that we need to deal with. We need to accept it, we need to embrace it, and we need to address it. And we need to do this by embracing agility. Agility on a mental level, a personal level, and an organizational level. And nobody knows what the new ways of working are going to look like. But I do know that we need to be agile, and we need to figure it out by using small experiments and getting feedback. And we need to figure it out together as a team with our leaders in relationships. We trust each other and can talk to each other as adult to adult. So I'd like to ask you a favor. And the favor I'd like to ask you is that go back to your organizations and please start conversations at your workplaces. What symptoms do you see and what will you do about it? Run experiments to try to fix them, and then please share the results so we can all learn from it. So this is a rallying cry to action. Let's take back our autonomy and independence and responsibility, because much like the women of the 1950s, we need to emancipate ourselves and take back our autonomy and our independence. Here's a handy little cheat sheet that I prepared for you. Take a screenshot. I promised you 3 things that you could do right away when you walk away. Train your resilience muscles, accept, embrace, and address reality by doing one hard thing every day. Assess and recalibrate your relationships and kill the advice monster, and instead ask questions and listen to the answers. Thank you very much. Good luck. Let me know how you go.